Don't forget to subscribe to the Social Gup and hit that bell icon for latest videos and updates.
And here's where it gets really juicy. Mendes, he went and got full rights to all of the Beatles music, their whole catalog, plus life rights from Paul, Ringo directly, and the estates of John and George. That is a major, major win.
Massive.
4 separate films, each one focusing on just one Beatle. John, Paul, George, Ringo.
Wow.
Yeah, and hold on, it gets wilder. Sam Mendes directing all of them. Release date, April 2028, supposedly. I mean, you gotta admit, that's huge, right? Just the scale of it makes you think this could be a whole new way of doing these music biopics.
CinemaCon 2025, what actually happened there?
Oh, man. Imagine this. Big industry event, right? Sam Mendes walks out on stage, director with, like, serious clout, and he's got 4 guys with him, and boom, it's revealed. Dickinson is John Lennon. Paul Mescal, Paul McCartney, Joseph Quinn, Eddie from Stranger Things, that's George Harrison. And then Ringo Starr, they got Barry Keoghan. Yeah. Sony Pictures, they're the studio, they're calling it the first bingeable theatrical experience, which of course immediately makes you go, what does that even mean? All 4 films at once, or spread out over, weeks, months? Still hazy on the details, but the sheer, audacity of it is what everyone's latching onto. Well, and the idea behind the 4 films themselves, it's kind of clever. Each one tells the Beatles story, but from one guy's point of view. From their start, scrappy Liverpool days around 1960 all the way to the breakup in 1970. So you're seeing that whole crazy decade through John's eyes, then Paul's, then George, then Ringo. The hope is, by the end, you get this, truly complete picture, this multifaceted view of how the band evolved.
Yeah, that multiple perspective thing, that's key.
And here's where it gets really juicy. Mendes, he went and got full rights to all of the Beatles music, their whole catalog, plus life rights from Paul, Ringo directly, and the estates of John and George. That is a major, major win.
Massive.
So we're talking Hey Jude, Let It Be, all the big ones, woven into the fabric of each film, presumably in ways that make sense for each Beatle, what that song meant to them, how it came about.
Oh yeah, that access changes everything. The music, it is the Beatles' story in a way. Can't separate them.
Dickinson, you might know him from Triangle of Sadness. He's going to be Lennon. McCartney, that's Paul Mescal. Big from Normal People. He's also in the next Gladiator film, which is interesting. George Harrison, that's Joseph Quinn. And of course, Barry Keoghan. Amazing in Saltburn. He's our Ringo. Talented bunch, for sure.
Oh yeah, really solid choices. Dickinson's got that intensity about him that could work well for, Lennon's complexity. Mescal, he can do that vulnerability, the emotional depth, which for McCartney could be fascinating. Quinn, there's a soulful quality there. Kind of fits how we think of Harrison, right?
Yeah.
And Keoghan, he's got this charisma, but also something unpredictable about him. Could be a really interesting Ringo.
The internet's losing its mind a little. Scrolling through the comments, a lot of it's people going, wait, do these actors even look like the Beatles? And then there's the whole thing about why not actors from Liverpool? It matters. Their background, their accents. So I gotta ask, when you're portraying icons like this, how much does physical resemblance matter versus capturing their essence, their spirit, their vibe?
Sure, looking the part can grab people at first. But it's more about the actor getting the inner life right. What drove that person, their quirks, how they interacted with others. If you nail that, that's what makes it believable.
All these music biopics, Bohemian Rhapsody, Elvis, they were huge. Seems like Hollywood's found a formula that works.
Oh, for sure. Those films showed that there's an audience hungry for these stories. You get the iconic music, but also the personal drama behind it.
Mendes has said it himself, the Beatles' story is just too big. For one movie, even for a series, it wouldn't do it justice. So Sony, they're gambling big here, thinking 4 films, this whole event will get people back into theaters. That's their goal. And the fact that they're talking about a year-long shoot, that shows you how much they're putting into this. Getting 4 distinct sides to the story could really change how we understand each Beatle. Their contributions, what they struggled with, how fame hit them. Lennon, that rebellious streak, but also his intellectual side. Harrison, him getting more spiritual, but also feeling creatively boxed in. McCartney, so driven, such a perfectionist, but insecure in his own way. And Ringo, just being that steady presence amidst all the chaos.
Yeah, it could be really revealing.
The analysis talks about scope creep, basically meaning the project could sprawl too much. You end up repeating the same key events across the 4 films, or those big moments lose their punch because they're spread thin.
Each film has to stand on its own, bring something new, add to the whole picture. maybe focusing on different emotional reactions to the same event or showing consequences that one guy experienced that others didn't see.
And then there's the whole, will people actually go see this question? Commercially, does it make sense? As cool as it sounds, will audiences go to the cinema 4 times for this? For you listening, how would you rather experience this? Multiple trips to the theater or that streaming binge over a few nights? Another sharp point the analysis makes is the potential for sanitization. The estates are involved, right? So will we get the real story, warts and all, or a more polished, officially approved version, stuff like Lennon's personality, the tensions in the band, George's frustrations, even Ringo's personal stuff, will it be there? Plus, all 4 actors are older now than the Beatles were when they split.
Ideally, sure, you'd want actors who look the part and have that background, but filmmaking's messy. You gotta find actors who are good, experienced, available, and maybe, like we said before, capturing the spirit, the complexity of who these guys were.
If you could pick anyone to play any Beatle, looks aside, background aside, who would it be and why?
Love that question. Gets people thinking about who embodies that Beatle energy.
4 trips to the theater, that's a commitment. The response was, well, Sony wants this to be an event. And in the cinema, that sound, that big screen, it's immersive in a way you can't replicate. So I'm putting it to you, listening, what's your preference here? The big event, gotta be there, or home on the couch? Total control. 4 films, 4 perspectives on the biggest band ever. Casting is interesting, talented actors for sure. But does the look match up? Does background matter? Big questions. And then, how will this all play out? Will people go see them? What order will they even come out in? Lots of unknowns. If these films are good, truly insightful, honest about who these guys were, what could we learn? About creativity, how collaboration works, what that level of fame does to people, and what about each Beatle? Is there something we haven't seen before? Some side of them that Mendes could bring out? That's what I'm hoping for. Something that goes beyond the usual stories. Think about it. We'll be back soon with another deep dive.